Good morning, it's Brian here again. We are back for the Art of Startup War, where again we interview one of our phenomenal companies that we have made a direct investment into. So when I talk on this show about great investment opportunities and folks that we believe are going to take over the world, I am talking about companies that we have already put our dollars into. So to say we believe in them is not even close. Now, we're going to look at a really, really interesting geographical opportunity and also industry opportunity today. And the company that we've invested into is a company called Fudr. The CEO of that company is Aayush, and we are going to talk today about how they are going to take over India one state at a time. Aayush, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, Brian. Good morning to you.
Fantastic. So I'm going to make it really simple for everybody what you've done. You have created an infrastructure to not just replicate, but improve on what companies like Chow Now over in the United States did and actually push that to the next level. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yep.
Beautiful. And tell us a little bit more about that. Tell us how it works.
Yeah. In a nutshell, Fudr is a platform that is focused on connecting restaurants to their customers in the digital world. Now, if you take an example of a small and medium restaurant in India, the biggest challenge these restaurant brands are currently facing is that they are not able to reach and retain enough customers. This is typically because most of them are very traditional in their approach when it comes to physical menus, manual ordering, and ad hoc marketing. Now, with Fudr, we are focused in bridging that gap between the restaurant and their customers through omni-channel engagement. And to make this happen, we are taking two-step approach. On the first level, we are helping these restaurant brands go from offline to online and open multiple ordering touchpoints like social media and chat applications like WhatsApp. And by doing this, we are helping them in a deeper understanding of their customers. And with this, they are able to take structured approach towards their retention and outreaching new customers.
That's a great explanation.
The platform.
Go on, Aayush.
Yeah. So I was telling the platform with Fudr is like when we talk about small and medium businesses, these people are not very tech savvy. So we have intentionally kept it a no-code model where they simply need to log in and they are good to go and launch their own digital menus, ordering and payment solution, and they can also run their retargeting programs through Fudr dashboard.
Wonderful. Okay, so here's how it is. The world has changed. The days when restaurants could just be a nice little place on the corner of a street that people walked into and had their meal are over. We all know that. We now live in the Amazon era, which means that if you do not dominate online, you are going to die. Now, the beautiful thing about somewhere like India is that this move to digitalization within the restaurant industry is probably 5 to 10 years behind the United States. And that brings incredible opportunity because not only do we have an industry that we already know what the future looks like, but we also have 5 to 10 times the opportunity than we have in the United States, purely through to the population and through to the amount of restaurants that we have over there. So opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Everybody knows they need to go in this direction, but the options are not out there for them to be able to use the folks to do it until Fudr came in. So Fudr came in, they walk into a restaurant multiplied by hundreds of thousands, and they say, you guys are here locally, we're going to make you global. We're going to make you digital. We're going to make sure that your marketing can reach absolutely everybody. We're going to make sure that you can have your orders sent out wherever they need to be sent out to. Anything digital you can possibly imagine is now going to be arranged through our platform. And it's been incredibly successful so far, right? Aayush, talk to us a little bit about the traction on the platform and what's happened.
Yeah. So, we started Fudr early last year in the month of February. And currently we are working with 550 restaurant brands pan-India. And if you really out of these 550 restaurants, 100 of them we have added recently in last 3 weeks only. So we are putting the accelerator on and we are on to the growth trajectory. where we are all on set and poised to reach 1500 by the end of this year. And all this is 100% digital, we are 100% digital when it comes to acquiring restaurants pan-India.
And it's incredible, really. Your growth has been through the roof. I mean, there are not many brands that are growing at about 500% growth every single year. Why do you think that you're being so successful?
Yeah. So, to understand this, Brian, you mentioned about the huge opportunity in India, and just to put it into context, when you talk about the US market, brands like Chow Now are doing similar job for the restaurant brands in US. And if you put into the context, the market size in US is 700,000 restaurants in US. But when you compare it with the size in the market in India, it is 40 times the size of the US market, with 7 million outlets in the organized sector and another 23 million outlets in the unorganized sector. So just comparing the sheer size of this market, we can easily sustain the pace of 500% for the next few years.
That's incredible. Really, just those numbers are absolutely staggering. There's just so many. And the great thing about the opportunity is that there's not a single one of those restaurant brands who are going to say, no, I don't think we really want to increase our digital brand. I don't really believe that we want to get access to the people that are going to be ordering online and the access to all of those folks out there who are going to want to be able to taste our food. So it's great. So I've kind of raced into what the product does. I've raced into the traction because it's so exciting. It's more exciting than most. And all investors know. They're exactly like us, right? They look at a brand, they look at a product, and they're thinking the old Y Combinator model, which is that if a company is growing by 10% to 12% every single month, it's on track to be a unicorn. You are growing at 30 to 40% every single month, which means you are on the fast track to being a unicorn. And the great thing is these companies, these restaurants that are coming on board are incredibly sticky. So I want to talk about like how sticky they are and how you keep them there. And then I want to take it back to your personal story a little bit. So talk to us about not just the growth, not just the 500%, but also why these companies are staying on your platform so much. And that way, as investors are listening to this, they're thinking to themselves, wow, growing it faster than a unicorn and keeping these guys with you too.
So the number one reason that these brands are not only adding up onto the platform, but also sticking around on the platform is that if you understand the current technology ecosystem that is available for these restaurant brands is running around POS systems and aggregator brands. Now, POS system is helping them in solving their back-end operations, and on the other hand, aggregators are bringing in orders for them, but on top of their aggregator brands and against hefty commissions. So none of these solutions are actually helping these restaurants open their own direct-to-consumer channels. And Fudr is helping them open those D2C channels with their end customers and is helping them bring in technology in the space where they are interacting with their end customers. So with Fudr, now since they are able to reach out to their customers 360-degree way, like on their social media, on their Google searches, all across they are able to reach out to their customers. That is why Fudr is helping them to grow their top lines, which is incredible for them, and this is the number one reason that these restaurants are sticking onto the platform month on month, and we are not seeing a high churn rate onto the platform.
That's a beautiful thing. Talk to us about your story. So why did you start this? You've decided that you want to create a unicorn, you want to create a billion-dollar company, you want to absolutely dominate within the food and beverage space. But why? Why you?
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. Like before Fudr, I was working with multiple product-based companies and led technology teams over there. And in my last assignment, I was working with Decurtis, who were building a customer experience platform for biggest cruise lines in the world. And when I was working with the cruise lines, I realized like how laser focused they were to leveraging technology and building personalized experience for their guests. And especially for the dining experience. And it was really amazing to see how this helped them in a deeper understanding of their guests and opened the doors for a lot of upselling and cross-selling opportunities. Now that was a realization for me, and when I compare it, how big enterprises in the F&B space like big brands like Domino's or Starbucks are doing, they are also again spending a lot of dollars on building a direct connection with their customers. But on the contrary, if you look at the small restaurants, they don't have enough resources to build their own technology stacks, and because of that, they are sort of disconnected with their customers. For me, it was a huge gap, and I see the desperate need of technology partners for these small restaurants, so that they are relevant in today's world. And this really sowed the seed for us to start Fudr, and we quickly did pilot for a couple of restaurants, and then the whole story moved along from there.
And then talk to me a little bit about the team. So you started it off, you realized it was a great idea, you saw a huge opportunity and a huge gap. But obviously you can't do this on your own, right? You had very strong industry experience, you knew what you were doing. But when you're building one of the most impactful technologies for an entire industry, you need to bring some very brilliant people around you. Talk to me about how you did that.
I'm extremely fortunate to form a solid core team that I have right now. We are a team of 4 co-founders, and collectively we have an experience of more than 4 decades. I am leading technology and product team at Fudr. Along with me, I have Akshat, who comes from a D2C background where he has scaled multiple brands previously. Shobit, who is again comes from background of leadership roles into sales and marketing in previous stints at tech space. And the fourth one we have is Prem, who is again a hardcore product guy. He's an ex-alum of IIT Bombay, one of the esteemed universities in India. And Prem and I have also worked together in a previous experience when we worked in Diggertis. So all this wrapped around with a wonderful advisory team that we have. The advisory team we have formed has previously scaled multiple products and companies in past, even to an extent of billion-dollar companies into the food tech space previously. So all this is very much helping us have the experience of previously building great organizations, and previous knowledge into multiple domains is helping us handle both the business and the product side of Fudr.
Very strong. And as an investor, I always say to fellow investors, look, sometimes you have no choice. You see a great solo founder, you see a phenomenal product, you see an access to market, and you think, okay, I feel nervous because if anything happens to the founder, everything is kaboom. But I'll do it because I love the product. In this case, it is the dream because you have 4 strong founders who all have complementary experience, all helping the product. This is why we invested in this company. And so I want to talk, so obviously your experience is great, the founders are great, your why is great, you saw this huge problem and you thought nobody is solving it. And you also saw that it had been solved in other countries as well. So you knew what the roadmap looked like, which actually is so important because this roadmap and building it as you go along wastes so much time and causes for so many companies to actually just get into trouble and not be able to make it. And you bypass that because you're really damn smart. But I want to talk a little bit about the hero's journey that we go through a lot here in the dojo. And that's to look at, not just the incredible things that have happened with the company, not just like, well, we built it and we're 40% growth every single month and we're the greatest team on the planet. But talk to me about the early days. Tell me about some of the difficulties that you went through, maybe some of the areas that were kind of mind-numbingly hard, where you were even lucky in some ways in your own mind to make it through.
Definitely, Brian. So as I mentioned, we launched Fudr early last year in the month of January. Unfortunately, this was the same time when COVID hit us all hard. And in India, we were impacted by multiple lockdowns and night curfews throughout. Now, this whole overlap with the COVID phase made us pretty difficult for us to reach out to restaurants in the early days. And on the other side, this also made us realize the importance of building a lean sales process. We have 100% digital sales team currently. And in the early days, we also realized how fragmented the whole market is. And we need, like the market is having fragments of, when you talk about cafes, fine dines, so all these are different fragments in the food tech space, and we were able to realize it pretty early, and we were able to solve this pretty with technology pretty early. Like we need to deepen the vertical offerings of the product to cater to all the segments of this fragmented food tech space. So in a way, this helped us shape the overall product journey, the processes a lot. This whole early days when you're working with COVID.
I love that. So you actually you're fighting two battles at the same time, right?
Yep.
One battle is that short-term crisis, which leads to medium and long-term opportunity, which in this case was COVID, right? There was nothing you could do about COVID, but it came hard because all of the folks that you're serving, all of the restaurants out there, of course, closed. And when they closed, they couldn't really do anything. And then they were fumbling and working around to try and actually get a solution, and which meant they were totally distracted. So going through something perfectly normal like building a pipeline became almost impossible. But the wonderful medium to long-term opportunity that came from that short-term crisis is that every restaurant suddenly realized that not having a digital strategy was suicide. And today it's COVID, but tomorrow it would be a different COVID. And whatever those COVIDs are, they need to be prepared for digital in the future. So it was really, on some levels, it was tough at the beginning. But on other levels, it absolutely validated your product like never before. Is that fair?
It is definitely fair. On the other side, as you mentioned, COVID also helped us shortening the learning curve for the restaurants. Earlier, we were selling something that was new to them, but with COVID, it was something inevitable for them.
Yeah, I love that. And then the other area that you mentioned is the product fit itself. And I love that. We're big believers in the dojo that we never pivot product fit. What happens is we launch it to the market, and then there are some entrepreneurs who are incredibly good at listening to their customers, and there are other entrepreneurs who just keep on launching stuff, right? You fit into the I'm listening to my customers area, which is beautiful. So you execute, you then listen, you then learn, you then adapt, and then you execute again. Can you maybe give us a few examples about how that happened, maybe some of the different execution strategies that you did, and then some of the areas that you heard from your customers that you thought, oh, okay, fair enough, we should actually change it and adapt it for this?
Yeah, definitely. So when we launched Fudr, we were typically focused on restaurants who were majorly dine-in nature and offline places where end customers are looking to go out to those places. But as I mentioned, COVID was something unexpected for all of us. And as the COVID came, there was immediate surge for direct ordering options. Those are helping restaurants take orders for pickups and deliveries. That is something like if I remember correctly, in 2 weeks we were able to launch our channels for deliveries as well as takeaway for the restaurant partners. And this actually helped the restaurants a lot to go direct. The restaurants were using the power of their Instagrams and Facebooks to reach out to their customers and were able to quickly roll out direct ordering channels for them. On the other side, with this, they were also able to save hefty bucks as the commission fees for their aggregators. So these were some improvisation that we had to do to adapt, to keep adapting to the situation.
Fantastic. And as you're going through, so you launch your product, you got 3 of the best co-founders in the world along with yourself, you bring it out to market, immediately COVID hits you and you're like, oh my God, in the great mindset of the hero's journey, like you're being attacked by so many forces that you didn't even imagine were there. You then overcame these forces and you fought back and you improved your product and you gave them access to channels that they never even imagined before. And then you started the surge. When was the moment then you moved from this tough, bootstrapped, COVID-ridden environment where you're fighting, building an incredible product, but in an area that's really bad? When was the moment that you realized, oh my goodness, we have a unicorn here?
So the moment like as I mentioned, like we kept on polishing the overall process, and when we realized like the size of the opportunity pan India and how the 40 million restaurants both in organized as well as unorganized sector are all looking for a solution to go digital for their end customers, that was the point and the aha moment for us. Like there is a unicorn in the making with Fudr. We were getting restaurants are inquiring for us on social media, and we are able to close to 50 restaurants per month. We are on a very solid runway of closing to 50 restaurants this month, and this again is all set to reach 1500 by the end of this year, and by the end of next year we will definitely be partnered with 10,000 restaurants. So all these the growth that we are able to project and the partnerships that we are able to make to make these numbers realized is overall making us believe more and more into the big vision of a unicorn that we have. And overall, with Fudr, we are focused to build ground up the complete ecosystem of how restaurants are interacting with their customers. This definitely starts with digital ordering and move forward in building guest insights for the restaurants. With these able guest insights, they will be able to precisely retain their guests through multiple retention programs, and also they will be able to have an aggregated feedback and review management system. So all this deeper insight of their guests will also open opportunity to run a marketing platform for these restaurants where they can run their marketing campaigns on guest segments that are onto the platform.
So in some ways, it's even unfair to compare you to Chow Now, because you're going well beyond what Chow Now have ever even dreamt of offering, right? You're looking to provide the entire ecosystem for a restaurant to interact with the digital. Everything from, we're going to set you up and make sure that we have you visible everywhere. We're going to help you market so that you can find your customers, and market in places that are really important. Like, we know somebody's going to go on Instagram. They're going to look at a beautiful meal, which is gorgeous. And what you want to be able to say is order now, right? And then you take that all the way through to the management of those customers that are then coming in. And if they have thousands of customers using the platform, like, how do you maximize those 1,000 customers so they're getting the right messages from you at the right time, whether it's within buying something else or whether it's within loyalty programs itself. And then it's about actually being able to segment and analyze all that's coming through your restaurant and be able to make sure that you have it done in the most efficient way possible.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And then, so as you continue to build this, is there any end to the vision of the ecosystem, the size of the ecosystem that you're creating for the F&B, the food and beverage industry? Or do you have a final vision as to where you believe it's going to go to?
So, our first vision is to partner with 10,000 restaurants by the end of next year. And this gives us a revenue ARR projection of around 3 million. And then We will be reaching 20,000 restaurants by the end of year 23. And then we will be focusing to add 50,000 restaurants by the end of year 2024. And these are all realistic and possible numbers, just on when we compare it the superset of the overall market, say, which is again 40 million. And we are, in next 4 years, we are focused to add 50,000 of those.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things I love the most is that you are so focused on the numbers. This is such a huge thing for me because, look, there are stages and steps to building a unicorn. You need to have the story and you need to have the vision. There's no question, right? If the vision isn't there for something so obsessively huge, then you can't get to that stage of being able to bring in $10 million a month in revenue in a space where you can take over the world, right? That's big. But what I find a lot of the time is many people come in and they say, we're going to make it huge, it's going to be really big, but they're not specific with regards to the milestones that need to be hit to achieve that $10 million a month in revenue. You are so specific, like you don't even need to be asked. You know exactly how many restaurants you're going to have on your platform. You know exactly how much ARR, annual recurring revenue, that you're going to have because of those restaurants on your platform. You know exactly how long those restaurants are going to stay with you for, which is technically forever, because you'll never let them leave because they need you much more than you need them. And then you know year by year how you're going to build. And by doing that, by having that vision so specific, so clear, so smart, whereby everybody knows what needs to be achieved, then there's no excuse for anybody in the organization to say, oh, well, I wasn't sure what we were going to and where we're going to be. Everybody listening to this knows, okay, if they're going to go to 1,500 restaurants within the next 2 or 3 months, and then they're going to take that to 10,000 restaurants, and if that's $3 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, that means that $250,000, $300,000 a month in revenue, they're going to be ready for their Series A. So they're going to do a big Series A next year, probably $5 to $8 million. They're then going to use that $5 to $8 million to then push it up. I also believe you're being very careful and conservative with regards to even your following year figures. I think you're going to do more than 20,000 the following year. I think you could hit 30,000 and maybe even 30,000 plus. And I got to say this, look, all investors who are listening to this, you know me, I don't hype anything up. This is our money. We've invested it into this company. Like, we're only thinking about the return we can get. I do this podcast so that other investors can get insights into what we are involved in every single day. And I do it for you guys out there. I love this company. I love this company. I love this space that they're in. I love the opportunity because there's nobody going to say to us, actually, I'm not sure the world is really going to go digital and F&B is going to be a good candidate for that. It's so damn obvious. It's right there in front of our faces. The only question that should be in front of every single investor, because you don't know these guys as well as I know them, is how can I be sure that they execute? So I want to finish it on this spot, right? And you're now speaking to all investors who are listening here. Man, everybody's convinced on everything you've said. They're convinced on the digitalization. They're convinced on the restaurants needing to have a proper platform that allows them to get out to the world, manage the world, and make sure that the world are continually engaged with their restaurant. Like, they're with you. They're also with you on the fact that this has been done in other places monstrously successfully to get unicorns, and that India are the next frontier for that. All anybody is thinking is, how do we know that this merry band, that this great group of people, even though there's 4 of them, even though they have 4 decades of experience in the space, how do we know they're going to hit the numbers? So I want you to finish right there, Aayush, and I want you, after you finish right there with your execution statement, I want you to share your email address with everybody, please, and then also the website so people can check it out as well. And as Aayush is going to finish, I'm telling you right now, you heard it here. We believe this baby is going to be a unicorn, and we believe it's going to break through massively, and we love this company. Aayush, finish us off and tell us why we believe in you and why everybody else should as well.
So, Like the reason to believe in us is that we have been doing this in the previous experiences as well, and currently if you look at the restaurant industry, which is again, as we discussed, it's a huge market, and the current COVID has made the digitization for all sectors of this SMB space inevitable. And restaurants being one of the huge component of the huge SMB space, this is a situation where digitization is unavoidable for them, and plus when you compare it the size of the market of the SMB space and the overall exposure they have with the digitization, it is something that will be forming a base for the next generation of the SMB of the restaurants in this space, which is based on the experience of and knowledge of what their guest is preferring, and based on that they are able to make their decisions. And when I talk about the SMB space, these restaurants are only a small segment of the huge SMB space, and this technology can be easily replicated to other verticals of the SMB space. And with Fudr, we are on a mission to democratize technology for all small businesses. And about me, I am Aayush, and my email address is aayush.khandpur@fudr.in, aayush.khandpur@fudr.in.
Good. And then for anybody looking to look at Fudr, you can look at it on the website there, which is the end of that domain. And for anybody listening and they're thinking, oh, I didn't catch that, it's a long email, you can always email me at brian@expertdojo.com, BRIAN@expertdojo.com, and I will be happy to loop in Aayush and any of the folks from his team to talk with you. And I will finish actually with one little comment. Every single thing this team have said to me about growth metrics has been achieved. And as an investor, I appreciate that very, 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 very much, because I know that that's the way it's going to continue. So I got to say, Aayush and all of your team members there, we appreciate you over here at the dojo. We are delighted that we got to invest more money into you. We intend to invest more money into you in the future. For all other investors out there, we highly encourage you get on with the guys and have a conversation with them and go through it. And congrats on everything that you've built.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the words.